Hey guys, it's Gabby. Welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I partnered up with Revel Nail to give you guys 10 dip powder tips. And really, these are just things that I've learned after messing up dip powder nails. So hopefully this helps you not make the same mistakes I've made. And yeah, let's get right into it. So the first thing is your nail prep. This is so important. Like, I cannot stress it enough, but you want to make sure you remove all the shine from your nail. When you file off that top layer, it's going to help rough up your nail and let the product adhere to it better. So if you're finding that it's just popping off, then that's probably why. And another thing, you want to make sure you don't leave any shiny spots, because that's where the dip powder will typically lift and it won't last as long. The next tip is to roll the dip powder before you start dipping. I've experienced discoloration before just because of the way the pigment was settling, so that's a way to avoid that. This next tip is for when you get dip powder on your skin. So ideally, when you're applying your pro base, you want to wipe off any base that gets on your skin before you go to dip. But sometimes you just don't. Like, I've done this before where I think it's all gone and then I end up getting dip powder stuck onto my skin. So if this happens to you, what I like to do is take an orange wood stick and just gently push that off of my skin. And I always roll it off of my skin before I apply the activator, because the activator is going to harden it. So I try to get off as much as I can and then file off anything that's still left. But in this case, I was able to get most of it off. So after I did that third dip, you could hardly even tell it was on my skin in the first place. Okay, now let's talk about filing, because after you apply your activator, most likely you're gonna have to do some shaping and filing, and it is so easy to actually file off some of your dip color. So you guys will see in a second, I went too far down and you can see some of my actual nail showing through. So to avoid this, just make sure you aren't over filing and just really check as you go, which leads us to the next tip, and that's dipping your nail in clear powder as your final layer. So this is important for two reasons. One, if you realize you're gonna have to do a lot of shaping and filing, or two, if you're using a glittery or shimmery shade like I am right here. And basically what that clear coat is gonna do is protect that color when you're filing. So once you're happy with your dip color, what you're gonna do is apply that pro base one more time and then pour that clear powder on. You don't wanna dip your nail into the clear just so you're not getting any color in there. And then you can go ahead, apply your activator, file as much as you want, and you'll see that color is still there. Back to the pro base, when you apply this, you want to make sure you're pouring or dipping your nail right after the application. And the reason for that is because this will start to dry, and if you wait too long, you may have the powder sticking only on certain areas. That's why I always recommend working on one nail at a time, because if you're trying to do all of them at once, some nails are going to start drying and then it's going to end up looking like this. This next mistake is something I've done multiple times, and I ruined my brush just to show you guys again. But basically, this is kind of a two-in-one tip of making sure you wipe your nail off in between each dip, but also making sure you don't wipe it off too early. So usually I wait to wipe off the nail until I've done all the nails, and then I'll go back to the first one, because you want the powder to settle in a bit before you just start wiping it. If you dip your nail and then wipe it off right away, it's gonna mess up the nail and the brush, it's just not fun. So make sure you're waiting before wiping it off, or else it could look like this. The next tip I have for you guys is to dip your nail at a 45-degree angle. So this is something so subtle, but it really does make a huge difference. If you try to dip your nail straight down or maybe upside down, it won't apply as evenly. You may have areas where it's thicker or it has like a bump in it, which you guys will see in a second. So make sure you do a 45-degree angle. Next, we're going to talk about the top coat, and in my experience, I've really struggled with applying the top coat, and it's because of the activator. So the activator and the top coat do not mix well. You don't want them anywhere near each other. So make sure you wipe off your nail before you apply your top coat with a lint-free wipe or a makeup sponge, because a few things can happen. One, if you're finding that your top coat is kind of looking wrinkly or dull, or if your brush is hardening, it's probably because of the activator still on your nail. So wipe it clean, or else it could look like this, or your brush could look like this. The next tip is, if you're like, you know what, I always struggle with the top coat and I'm frustrated, then just skip it completely and use a gel top coat. I just think the gel top coat is an easier option. You apply one layer, cure it, and you're done. The last tip is to make sure you're wiping off the bottle of your Pro Base and your finishing gel before you put the lid back. You want to make sure you keep the bottle neck clean because it is so easy for it to get stuck with these products. So I normally use a lint-free wipe and acetone to do this, but you want to make sure you don't get any acetone in the actual product. So that is it for my dip powder tips. Hopefully this helps you guys out, and if you want a part 2, let me know and I can definitely do that. And yeah, I will talk to you in my next video. Bye.